If you've ever looked at your marketing reports and wondered what the hell are impressions, reach, ROAS, all of these jargon terms, well, I have good news for you, my friend. We are going to go through these together, and I'm going to try to help demystify the crazy confusing world of digital marketing. It is very easy to get overwhelmed and to focus on the wrong things when it comes to looking at your marketing. And so in this episode, I want to be your helpful geeky guide to walk you through KPIs. So what is a KPI? Let's start there. A KPI is a key performance indicator, something that we look at to kind of quickly get an understanding whether it's working or whether it's not. With marketing, we generally split things into 3 or 4 segments. This is what we call a marketing funnel, and we have our top, middle, and bottom of funnel in the 3 classic divisions. There's other models like the AIDA model, which is awareness, interest, decision, action, but the traditional marketing funnel that we use for digital marketing, top of funnel is your awareness, but generally the classic digital marketing funnel that you'll see a lot and people refer to all the time is your top, middle, and bottom of funnel. This is your awareness, people discovering you for the first time, your middle of funnel, which is where people are engaging with you, and lastly, your bottom of funnel, which is all about acquiring customers, which is often where most businesses will start their focus. And rightly so, not judging, but that is where I'd say 99% of the clients that we start working with in our digital marketing agency will say, we need more sales. So bottom of funnel is super important. But you don't want to forget everything else in the wonderful world of the World Wide Web. Man, what a tongue twist, because you want to be looking at the full picture. So stage 1, how do we measure KPIs for top of funnel awareness? Well, if you're looking at things like video views or advertisements or blogs, content that you're putting out there to the world, there's a few different terms that we can look at, but impressions is the first KPI that we generally look at, specifically for ads. Impressions are the number of times that your ads have been shown to your ideal target audience. Impressions can work for ads in terms of meta ads, so how many times have your ads shown up on Meta, Instagram, whatever. They can also be used for Google Ads, TikTok, LinkedIn, Spotify. Any of the different platforms will have impressions as a metric, and even things like SEO. You'll get impressions in terms of, if you use tools like Google Search Engine Console, you can see the impressions, the amount of times that your pages ranked on Google searches. So how many times did you appear for a Google search, and that's an impression. Impressions can be split up into a ton of different terms as well. So impressions is the amount of times that your content has been shown in total, but that can be shown to the same person multiple times. So reach is where we would generally measure to see how many people did we actually reach. Impressions is total times that your ad or your page or your content was shown to someone, and reach is how many people you've actually reached. We look at website traffic as well with Google Analytics, and Google Analytics has its own confusing terms for this, where you'd have sessions or the amount of people who've come to your website, and then users as how many actual people came. Sessions are how many times they opened a browser, went to your website, and went through a couple of different pages. Whereas a user is a unique person based on their IP address. So top of funnel, we're looking at how many eyeballs do we get on your content. But that doesn't mean that we just want to focus on eyeballs, because this can be vanity metrics, right? How many views did you get on your video? Well, it doesn't matter if it's not driving some type of marketing result, like traffic to your website, a download of a guide, giving you their email address in exchange for some great content or a checklist, whatever it is. These are all really important pieces of the puzzle. So top of funnel, we would generally focus on impressions, reach, and clicks through to your website. The reason we focus on those is because the next stages of the funnel is what we would measure more of those kind of tangible results. So if those are the metrics that we normally look at, you can also look at things like downloads for content. You can look at, because hey, if people are seeing your content, going through and downloading something, we want to track that too. We also look at things called CPM, cost per mil, or cost to reach 1,000 people. This is how we can compare apples with apples to understand how expensive is it to reach 1,000 people on this. It does get more expensive as you go down the funnel. And the reason for that is that at the bottom of funnel, you're going to try to get those people to buy a product. So most advertisers and marketers are more than happy to spend a bit more money to get in front of those people repeatedly, because the chances of you going to a website, adding a product to your shopping cart, and then completing the purchase would be sky high compared to somebody that's never even seen an ad, right? So CPMs are a good thing to look at, or the cost per mil, but it's not the be all end all. It's just to be able to compare apples with apples when you're looking at Google ads versus Facebook ads versus Spotify ads, whatever. So keep that in mind when we're talking top of funnel. So stage 2 of our marketing funnel is the middle of funnel. And this is where we're looking at engagement metrics. So a really good example of an engagement metric would be booking in a free appointment. That would be sky high engagement, right? Because they are showing you that they are really, really interested in your services and have gone through to book an appointment to talk about how you might be able to help them with whatever. So this, for service-based businesses and even some product-based businesses, we would call this the gold standard of engagement. If you can get a prospect, somebody to click on an ad or to find you on Google search and then go through and book an appointment, that generally is a very strong indicator that they are an interested customer or an interested prospect and might want to work with you. Like I said, this is a gold standard for the engagement side or the middle of funnel because they haven't yet given you money. They're not bottom of funnel where they're ready to go and they're, an acquired customer, but they've engaged in a serious way. Other KPIs that you can look at for engagement are things like file downloads or comments on your posts, on your blogs. Any type of interaction is generally a very strong signal that that person would be interested in your services or products. What we look at when we're looking at ads for engagement, we look at things like your click-through rate, which is how many people have seen your ad versus have clicked through to your website or have clicked on the ad to interact and engage. So when we're testing different campaigns, a really strong indicator that this content's working better than that content would be looking at that click-through rate and looking at your engagement rates. Because that gives you a clear ratio or percentage that you can compare apples with apples or oranges with oranges or ad A with ad B and understand which one is actually working better to get that audience to take action. Even if it's not to buy a product, are they engaging with that content? Are they commenting? Are they clicking? And if you see a post that's working really, really well in terms of engagement, you probably want to look at what is the engagement? What's happening there? Is it all like negative comments? Because maybe that's not a great thing, right? So you do want to take it with a pinch of salt, but those are KPIs that we'd look at for your middle of funnel marketing. Now, engagements can apply to your entire marketing mix. So I'm talking about ads here, but the other thing that we'd be looking at for click-through rates would be like your SEO content, right? What pages are ranking well on Google and are getting higher than average click-through rates? For emails, what emails are getting higher open rates? What emails are getting higher click-through rates? So that is a good way, again, to see the engagement and if it's working. So we're looking at these at the middle of funnel because we want to understand, are people actually engaging with our content, with our campaigns? Making sense? Let's move on to bottom of funnel, which is probably our favorite, because the bottom of funnel, stage 3, is all about acquiring customers. How do we get sales? And sales are what drive all businesses to keep their doors open. It's the lifeblood and the life force of any business. You need to have sales coming through the door in order to be able to pay for everything else. So what do we look at as the primary KPIs for bottom of funnel? Well, generally it's 2 things. The first one is your CPA, cost per acquisition. How much is it costing you to get a customer? And then the second thing that we would normally look at is return on ad spend. Cost per acquisition is very simple. How much did you spend in order to get that purchase? Return on ad spend. Now, for most businesses, you're probably looking at getting at least a 3 times return on your ad spend in order to be in the green. What we do with our clients is we look at what's your profit threshold and we get an approximate figure of what you need to be hitting in order to break even. Then we add a buffer to that in order to be able to know that's the target. Anything above that, we are in the green, we're printing money, and we can start scaling up the ad spend in order to then hit their monthly revenue goals. Cost per acquisition also is really important because we want to know, is that cost going up? We want to look at things like your average order value as well, because if that goes up or it goes down, that can heavily impact your return on ads. There are quite a few different things that you would look at the bottom of funnel. We generally break these up into what I have called hard conversions or monetary conversions and soft conversions, because there is sometimes where your marketing is acquiring leads that then need to go to a sales team for them to follow up and close the deal. It's very common for us to work with service-based businesses who the marketing is getting sales qualified leads that are saying, hey, I want a quote for this service. It's urgent. Here's my address. Here's my number. Please, let's book in a job. But there's still a process that needs to be done by the principal in the business or by the technician or by you. by the salesperson. So we would also look at that as a software conversion. We can apply a monetary approximation, or if you have a CPM that tracks your sales, you should be able to plug that back in to work out your ROI there. We'll work with our clients to look at what is each month your conversion rate on your leads, and then what has been your average approximate job value, so that we can work out a value per lead to help us calculate ROI effectively. To give you an example, let's say that you have a business where a client, if you sign them on, would be a $10,000 project, and you convert 1 in 10 leads that you get through your Google Ads. What we would say is that means that each lead that we get is worth approximately $1,000 to the business. So as long as we are 3 times below that, we should still be profitable, which is about $300 to cost per acquisition to get that lead. We would still be profitable. $300 to get a lead would be ridiculously expensive. So why am I explaining all of this to you? I find that a lot of people who are maybe getting into marketing or maybe have just been in sales for so long, they don't realize that there's a full suite of KPIs that you want to be looking at. And it's not just about sales and ROI. You need to be doing all of the metrics. You need to be looking at all of the stages above bottom of funnel, which is your engagement and your awareness, as well to help you in growing your business. We launched a new client recently, about 3 months ago. And when we launched their advertising and email marketing, we were off to the races. We were getting like 12 times return on ad spend for the campaigns that we were running. And it was fantastic. The only problem is after 3 months, you saturated the market, and all the people who were going to buy at that stage, well, they're not going to buy again straight away. They might buy 3 months later, right? So it started tapering off. And the problem is that we weren't addressing both the engagement and the awareness stages of that. We were just focusing on the bottom of funnel sales stage. So helping people become aware of common problems that your services or products can help solve, that's a great way to build brand awareness and awareness full stop. Engagement, you're trying to drive people through to blog articles, free downloads, guides, booking in sales calls, booking in consults, so that you're helping fuel your sales pipeline so that people who maybe aren't sure exactly what they need can talk to somebody and get expert guidance in terms of what they should do before they buy the product. So we want to try to make a marketing mix that covers off all 3 stages of the funnel. Awareness is going to be 80% of your content. And then the middle of funnel will be probably like 15% of your content. And then bottom of funnel should be 5% of your content, that kind of like ready to go, buy our product now. It's not going to apply for all businesses, but that would be like how you would break that down. Now, lastly, some great metrics that I like to suggest to clients as well is once you've got the sale, you want to be looking at other metrics that will help you in figuring out whether or not you're doing a good job. For any clients or any businesses that can have repeat purchases, you want to look at things like your churn rate or your attrition rate for your customers. This can be determined by how often are they buying, and then when do they drop off. If you're a fast-moving consumer product, if you sell food, for example, or supplements, then you're probably wanting people to be ordering on a quarterly basis or every 10 weeks. And what you should be tracking is how many people will buy once and once only, how many people buy twice, how many people buy 3 times, and how do you help push people through the customer journey to buy 10 times if they can, which leads to the next KPI, which we look at, lifetime value. Lifetime value is how much do your customers spend with you as a whole when you average out all of your customers' revenue that's come in divided by the total number of customers that you've serviced. Lifetime value is an incredibly important metric to look at because some clients will actually have a lost lead where they're happy to spend more than the first order's amount to get people in the door, knowing that they might make 10 times more off the back end of the lifetime once the customer has been acquired. And on average, the lifetime value is 10 times more, right? So lifetime value is super, super important to consider as well for any brand. And lastly, I like to look at your ESG impact as well. So our agency, we actually are carbon neutral. We try to work with brands that are doing some good in the world. And it's not to say that we won't work with some businesses, although I guess we might be a bit picky, I don't know. But we try to make sure that we're doing good for the planet. So we try to plant trees when we get new clients. I think we've planted 500 trees, a small forest, which is awesome. And we try to do our part just to be good, just to be a good business, right? So take it or leave it. It's one thing that you can measure as well that I think is how we can all make the world a little bit better in our own way. That, my friends, is the Geek's Guide to KPIs for your marketing. Is there anything that you think that I've missed out? I'd love to hear in the comments. what you think are the most important KPIs for your business. I'm hoping that this will be a very helpful little guide for anybody coming in to work with our agency, as well as our staff, and anybody out there that might find this helpful. If you are somebody who is struggling with their marketing, you want expert help in how to get seen, how to be heard in all this noisy world that we have right now, and you're looking for ways to get more customers and more revenue in through the doors, well then I would love to have a chat with you. You're welcome to book in a 30-minute free consult with yours truly, where we can talk about what your business goals are, what you've been trying, what's been working and what hasn't. And what I try to do in those sessions is to give you a quick strategy in terms of what I think could help you in growing your business, or at least solving some of your problems. We love working with awesome businesses who are trying to find ways to make their marketing work for them. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, I'd love to have a chat. With all that said, I thank you so much for watching. Please check out our podcast and our YouTube channel for more helpful videos. And until the next episode, take care everyone. All the best with your marketing.